Hello and welcome once again to another supplemental, folks. This is my more loosely scripted, lightly edited series of videos, and today we are once again being very nerdy and arbitrarily ranking the Starfleet uniform designs in Star Trek. First of all, however, a shameless plug. It seems a lot of folks still don't know I have other channels aside from this one. An entertainment channel called Grindhouse Media, where myself and friends talk about movies and shows aside from just Star Trek, although I do sometimes force them to watch things like that anyway. Our primary series is the Watch Party series, where we riff on movies and TV episodes for a laugh. Everything from infamously bad to complete schlock, and even movies we actually like as well. I also have a gaming channel called SideQuest, in which we do video essays, gameplays, and coming soon, some reviews. Both of these channels are still early days, but it's been really fun experimenting with the kind of content we produce on them. There's lots of good stuff coming in the new year, so be sure to follow the links below and subscribe so you can be the first to watch. With that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So, from worst to best, bottom of the pile is the motion picture uniforms. I don't think these uniforms really have many fans. I just think they look awful. They just look really dull and boring. None of the colours really pop. There's nothing really interesting going on in terms of any kind of shapes or insignias or anything. The one kind of notable thing is the what are supposed to be life support belts, those big black kind of blocks that are stuck to their tummies. They were supposed to be life support belts, which is something that carried over from the animated series, but you never see them being used, and so they're just kind of these odd kind of black boxes stuck to their fronts. But they just look really just bland, just really, really boring. They're also kind of quintessentially 70s looking. You know, they kind of look like they're taking cues from sort of the Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica days, but again with none of the flair and none of the style that the costumes in those shows had. Nicholas Meyer often said the uniforms in the original series looked like pajamas. I don't agree with those particular uniforms, but these I certainly do. In fact, I would almost describe these uniforms as looking like the Enterprise crew is in a cult. You know, they kind of look like those weird outfits that like members of sort of new agey kind of space comet type cults, you know, you'd see them wearing these kinds of things. And yeah, I really don't like these at all. I just think they just don't work on any level, really. Above that, sort of next worst, is the Discovery Season 3 uniforms, specifically sort of Starfleet of the future. Now, I'm really on the fence about these. You know, maybe I need time or something, maybe my opinion may change, but at present I really don't like them all that much. The colouring isn't quite as dull, it's not quite as bad as the motion picture, but I don't know about sort of grey. I don't know about that. And a lot of the insignias seem sort of, I don't know, slightly overcomplicated in terms of their design. And my sort of gripe with them is at the end of Discovery Season 3, spoilers, I guess, you see the Discovery crew transfer to wearing these uniforms. And I could be mistaken, but I feel like the fit on the Discovery crew is too long. Like, this uniform looks really nice on Admiral Vance, but I feel like on a lot of the Discovery crew, like Michael Burnham and a lot of other people, they look too long. It's almost like the I think it's a jacket or a top or whatever you want to call it, sort of goes below their waist to the point where it's almost forming a mini skirt, you know, and I just think it looks, I don't know, it just doesn't look that great. Especially when people are sitting down, it gets all kind of crumpled and ruffled up and things, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of these. There are other kind of variants from like Starfleet security officers and things, which I think kind of going in that direction makes more sense. You know, I also prefer like the uniforms which the people of Earth wear, you know, like Adira is introduced wearing and things. I quite like those uniforms. I feel like maybe if Starfleet was closer to that kind of style, I'd appreciate that more. But right now, these ones, I really don't know about these. Next on the list is late Deep Space Nine era uniforms. These are the ones, you know, that are black on the bottom and grey on the shoulders and things. And these look, you know, to their credit, these look very, very smart and professional. And I know these designs have their fans. This is just completely, you know, subjective from me personally. I just prefer a bit more colour in my Starfleet uniforms. You know, I think the original series, again, because it was kind of lifting from kind of lots of pulpy kind of sci-fi where people kind of went around in like big colorful spacesuits and things. I like that. I like that kind of that influence still being visible in Star Trek. And so having grey and black, as good as it looks and as like nice as it looks, they do look like proper uniforms, they look very professional. I would just prefer a bit more color, but overall it looks quite nice. Above this is the Star Trek 2009/Into Darkness uniforms. As I said, I like my Starfleet uniforms much more colourful, which is why, I generally prefer like the look of the original series uniforms. With these though, in terms of kind of an update, a modern reboot, I don't know about these. It's specifically because of like the material that the uniform is made of and the pattern. The material is kind of that sportswear kind of material. It's what you'd see like football players wearing or something like that, which doesn't really work for me as a uniform. I don't know if military uniforms and things would really go for that kind of material. Also, I think the pattern is a bit much, because if you look really closely on these uniforms, the pattern is like tiny Starfleet insignias just repeated over and over again. I think that's a bit much. And yeah, they look like football shirts, but again, I like the colour, and I like the new kind of rank insignias of like the metal bands around the wrists and things. Those look quite nice, and I also really like the new badges. But aside from that, yeah, I have some quibbles with these ones, which is why the original series uniforms, the TOS uniforms, I'm ranking above these. I prefer the TOS uniforms just because of their, as I said, their material. They don't have that football top look, and they don't have the ridiculous kind of repeating pattern. The insignias and the symbols and everything, of course, they look great. I mean, they're icons in and of themselves. The Star Trek badges are just really, really nice. But just like, as I've said, with the Klingons and with the TOS Enterprise design in general, it just looks a bit dated. It's just a very simple design, and I just think there are better options on the list, which are kind of, but still going for this kind of general aesthetic. Above this, we come to the Enterprise uniforms. I've said this many times before, but I really, really like the general production design for Enterprise as a show. You can see where like NASA ends and Starfleet begins, and it's just really smartly kind of thought out. These uniforms as well reflect that, where they look very, very practical, where they actually have pockets, rather than like phasers and things being stuck to people's hips with like Velcro strips. They actually have pockets where they can put things, and they kind of have like almost like a boiler suit sort of NASA astronaut kind of look to them. Again, they're just very practical and roomy, and you look like you can be doing marathons and running and fights and things, and lots of kind of laborious engineering work while wearing this. But also they look perfectly fine at a kind of a function, a conference or a dinner or something like that. They work in that way. They're just not super stylish. The reason they're not higher on this list is that I just don't think they're that stylish. Personally, I would never wear one of these myself, even though I think it's good design in universe and for the show. I just think there are kind of the rule of cool, applies sometimes, and I think there are cooler looking uniforms on the list. Above that, we have the early Deep Space Nine/Voyager uniforms. I think this is just a slightly better version of the late DS9 uniforms. I think these look really smart. But again, I like that. I really like that splash of colour, which is on the shoulders. And the next few I'm kind of going to get through quite quickly because I have similar things to say on them. Because above these uniforms, I have the Picard modern uniforms. This is the Picard. These are the uniforms which Starfleet is wearing at the time the events of Star Trek Picard take place, and they're basically the same general kind of philosophy to the Voyager uniforms with the color on the shoulders. They just look a bit more smart. There's just a couple of alterations to them. Like these ones have a raised collar, and they just have like slightly different insignias and different looks to them and things. But I really like the kind of the general aesthetic of the Voyager uniforms, and I really like how these look more professional and look, they're just a bit smarter looking. But I think the best version of this are the uniforms we see in Picard, but the flashback uniforms. These are the uniforms we see Picard and Raffi wearing in a flashback. And again, I just have very similar things to say about these. I think they look really smart and they look like proper uniforms, but I like the splash of colour, and I just prefer the shape. I like, instead of kind of one uniform sort of block of colour sitting on the shoulders, I like that there's kind of a separation between the neck and both the shoulders, and I just prefer the shapes. of these kind of coloured sections of the uniform, because the rest of it just looks really smart. You know, black in general is a good way to kind of make people look smart, and I like that, you know, these look very smart, but again, just that splash of colour I really like. Above these are the Star Trek Beyond uniforms. I think these are the best update to the TOS uniforms. Again, they have that overall... Again, they retain that overall aesthetic of very bright, bold colours, but these just look like proper uniforms now. They've changed the material. It's not that same football top material. They've got rid of the repeating pattern and things. And it's just a really nice fit, you know, a nice raised collar, and they've retained all of the insignias and things and updated them really nicely. And yeah, these look great. You know, some may argue that they're just kind of, they're a bit plain, but I think these are like the best version of this style of uniform that you're going to get, of these big, bold colors, you know, and so I really, really like them because of that. I also really, really like the Starfleet survival jacket, which Kirk wears for most of this. It's like a motorbike jacket. I think that just looks awesome, and I want one, and I just wear that casually. I think it looks great. Above that, we have the Wrath of Khan uniforms. Well, uniforms which start in the Wrath of Khan and then are worn until Star Trek 6. Overall, I generally prefer Starfleet uniforms all being the same colour. It's just a personal, you know, aesthetic choice, but I just think it looks really nice, you know, when all the Starfleet officers are kind of lined up together, having them all wear the same coloured uniform and the same general design. Again, I just think it just looks really nice in kind of group shots and crowd shots and things. I really like how these uniforms kind of are evocative of the Age of Sail uniforms, like British Navy uniforms and French Navy uniforms and things, how they open at the front like that. It makes them look really, really stylish. And funnily enough, by kind of harkening back to days of old, they come around and end up looking quite futuristic at the same time. I just think these look really, really great. They are totally believable as uniforms which a real kind of nation or a real fleet, a real navy would wear. This is like easily one of my favorites. I really, really like these. In second place, I have the Star Trek TNG uniforms. I think these are really great. They're kind of like in the spirit of the TOS uniforms, the original series uniforms, of having those big, bold colours, but it has its own identity. Now, obviously, Season 1 and 2 had slightly different uniforms, but I'm not going to spend much time kind of ranking those in their own separate spots. It's kind of splitting hairs to me. But yeah, for the rest of these, I think, you know, the rank insignia being like little pips is a really nice idea. I like the shape of the coloured sections, how it leaves the shoulder black and the trousers black, and then just kind of has that big colourful section like on the chest and on the back and things. I just think it looks really, really nice. Again, I think this is just a really nice balance between, you know, looking believable as uniforms. I can believe, you know, a Navy would wear uniforms looking like this in real life, but at the same time, it still evokes that pulpy sci-fi Flash Gordon-y kind of thing, and because of that, it looks really stylish and really functional. I think they look great. Number one in the top spot, you've figured it out by now, of course, it's the Discovery uniforms. As I said, I prefer Starfleet uniforms all being one colour. I think that's really nice, and I think this specific shade of blue really, really suits Starfleet. I don't know if it's the same colour as the blue in the Enterprise uniforms. As I've said before, I'm actually colourblind, so I can't tell if these are different colours or not, but I think it's just a really nice colour to represent Starfleet. You know, it communicates, you know, peace, and it communicates science, and it's just really, really lovely to look at. I'm going to mention the Discovery Enterprise uniforms as well, the uniforms which Captain Pike and so on and so forth wear. I chose not to rank these in a different spot because, again, like the Season 1 and 2 uniforms of TNG, it would just be a bit redundant in terms of what I have to say about them. I like kind of all the little stylistic flourishes and little details and things of the Discovery uniforms are carried over to that, and I think it's a nice update. Overall, I still prefer the Beyond uniforms for the fit, but these look really nice as well. These blue Discovery uniforms, I think they look very, very professional. Again, they are believable as uniforms, but they're also very, very functional. Like, there's a couple of times when people, you know, do fights and chases and things wearing these uniforms, and they look very comfortable. They look like they're easily able to move in them. and they're stylish at the same time. You know, there's so many great choices here. There's so many like rich details. I love the kind of using like silver, gold, and bronze to denote kind of departments and things. I love the little lining in the shoulders. I love the they've got the kind of small repeating Starfleet symbols again, but only in like small sections of the uniform. It looks really nice. The badges, the boot, everything about this, I just think it works. You know, I would genuinely like buy one of these uniforms as a jacket and I'd just wear it casually. I really would, because I think it just looks really, really awesome. And yeah, these are the ones to beat, in my opinion. Easily my favorite Star Trek uniforms. I just think they look fantastic. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos, subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on my new uploads. If you want to help the channel grow, join my patrons or my YouTube members, where you can see videos early as well as some other exclusive content. Speaking of which, I'd like to quickly thank all of my patrons and members who are now appearing on screen. Have a good one, and as always, live long and prosper.